Stop pleasing others and start living for yourself. Here's how. Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects so many of us. People pleasing. It's that constant need to make others happy, to seek their approval, and to avoid conflict at all costs. But have you ever stopped to wonder why we do this? More importantly, have you considered the impact it has on our mental health and our ability to live a fulfilling life? In this video, we're going to explore why people-pleasing is so destructive, how it keeps us from being our true selves, and what we can do to break free from its grip. So, stay tuned because what you're about to learn could change your life. Let's start by unpacking what people-pleasing really is. At its core, people-pleasing is about putting others' needs and desires ahead of our own. It's driven by a deep-seated fear of rejection and a desperate need for validation. When we prioritize pleasing others over staying true to ourselves, we end up sacrificing our own happiness and well-being. This behavior often stems from early childhood experiences, where we learned that being compliant and agreeable earned us love and acceptance. Over time, this coping mechanism becomes ingrained, and before we know it, we're adults who are still living for others, rather than for ourselves. Now, let's talk about the impact of people-pleasing. When we constantly seek to please others, we neglect our own needs and desires. This leads to feelings of resentment, burnout, and even depression. Imagine spending your entire life trying to meet everyone else's expectations. It's exhausting. Not only that, but it also prevents us from living authentically. We end up wearing masks, hiding our true selves, and conforming to what we think others want from us. And the saddest part, even when we do everything we can to please others, we can never fully control how they feel or what they think about us. This realization can be incredibly freeing because it means that the pressure to constantly please others is ultimately unnecessary. Let's take a moment to look at a common scenario. Picture this. You're at work, and your boss asks you to take on an extra project, even though your plate is already full. You know that if you say yes, you'll be overwhelmed, but you're afraid that if you say no, you'll disappoint them or be seen as uncooperative. So, you agree, and now you're stuck working late hours, feeling stressed and frustrated. This is a classic example of people-pleasing in action. We say yes when we really want to say no, and in doing so, we compromise our own well-being. But it doesn't have to be this way. By setting boundaries and learning to prioritize our own needs, we can break free from this cycle. Speaking of boundaries, let's dive deeper into why they're so important. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect our personal space, energy, and mental health. They're the guidelines that we set to ensure that we're not overextending ourselves or giving more than we're comfortable with. Without boundaries, we leave ourselves vulnerable to being taken advantage of or feeling resentful when we give too much. Setting boundaries can be challenging, especially if we're not used to it. But it's a skill that can be developed with practice. Start by identifying the areas in your life where you feel stretched too thin. Maybe it's at work, in your relationships, or even with your family. Once you've identified these areas, think about what you need to feel more balanced and respected. Then, communicate those needs clearly and assertively. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about being selfish. It's about taking care of yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself for others. Let's explore the role of self-worth in breaking free from people-pleasing. When we don't value ourselves, we're more likely to seek validation from others. We rely on their approval to feel good about ourselves, which is why we go out of our way to please them. But here's the thing. True self-worth comes from within. It's about recognizing your inherent value, regardless of what others think or say. When you have a strong sense of self-worth, you're less likely to compromise your needs or values just to make someone else happy. You'll feel more confident in setting boundaries and standing up for yourself because you know that your worth isn't dependent on external validation. Let's talk about how to cultivate self-worth. One of the most effective ways to build self-worth is through self-compassion. This means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. Instead of beating yourself up for not being perfect, acknowledge that you're human and that it's okay to make mistakes. Another way to cultivate self-worth is by practicing gratitude. Take time each day to reflect on the things you're grateful for, whether it's your health, your relationships, or your accomplishments. This practice can help shift your focus from what you lack to what you have, which can boost your sense of self-worth. Finally, surround yourself with positive influences, People who uplift and support you, rather than those who drain your energy or make you feel inadequate. Remember, you deserve to be around people who appreciate you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. Now, let's address a common fear, the fear of disappointing others. This fear is often what drives us to people please in the first place. We worry that if we don't meet others' expectations, they'll think less of us or even reject us. But here's the reality. You can't please everyone. No matter how hard you try, there will always be someone who's not satisfied, and that's okay. It's important to accept that you're not responsible for other people's happiness. Your job is to take care of yourself and live in a way that's true to who you are. When you do that, the right people will appreciate and respect you, even if you don't always do what they want. Let's consider another common scenario. You're out with friends, and they want to go to a place that you're not really interested in. Instead of speaking up, you go along with it because you don't want to be the one to ruin the fun. But as the night goes on, you find yourself feeling disconnected and maybe even a little resentful. This is a perfect example of how people-pleasing can lead to unhappiness. By going along with something you don't really want to do, you're not being true to yourself. Over time, these small compromises add up and can lead to a deep sense of dissatisfaction with your life. The key is to start being honest about your preferences and desires. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's essential for living authentically. Let's talk about authenticity. Being authentic means being true to yourself, your values, your desires, and your needs. It's about living in alignment with who you really are, rather than trying to fit into someone else's mold. When you live authentically, you attract people and opportunities that resonate with your true self. You no longer have to pretend to be someone you're not or do things that don't feel right just to fit in. And the best part, when you're authentic, you feel more fulfilled and at peace with yourself. There's a deep sense of satisfaction that comes from living a life that's true to who you are. Let's explore how you can start living more authentically. The first step is to get clear on your values, the things that are most important to you. These could be anything from honesty and integrity to creativity and adventure. Once you know your values, use them as a guide for making decisions. Ask yourself, does this choice align with my values? If the answer is no, then it might be worth reconsidering. Another way to live authentically is to tune into your intuition. Your intuition is that inner voice that knows what's best for you. It's that gut feeling that tells you when something is right or wrong. By listening to your intuition, you can make choices that are in alignment with your true self. Living authentically also means being honest with yourself and others. This means expressing your thoughts and feelings openly, even if it's uncomfortable. It means saying no when you need to and standing up for yourself when something doesn't feel right. It's about being true to yourself, even when it's not the easiest path. But here's the thing, when you live authentically, you inspire others to do the same. Your authenticity creates a ripple effect, encouraging those around you to be true to themselves as well. And that's a beautiful thing. Let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've covered. We've talked about the dangers of people-pleasing and how it prevents us from living authentically. We've explored the importance of setting boundaries, cultivating self-worth, and overcoming the fear of disappointing others. We've also discussed the power of authenticity and how it can lead to a more fulfilling life. Now, it's time to take action. Start by identifying one area of your life where you've been people-pleasing. Maybe it's at work, in your relationships, or with your family. Once you've identified this area, make a commitment to start setting boundaries and prioritizing your own needs. Remember, it's okay to say no, it's okay to put yourself first, and it's okay to be true to who you are. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought. Breaking free from people-pleasing is a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time, practice, and a lot of self-compassion, but the rewards are worth it. When you stop living for others and start living for yourself, you'll experience a newfound sense of freedom and happiness. You'll feel more confident, more empowered, and more at peace with yourself. So, take it one step at a time, celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in this together, learning and growing along the way. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this video helpful and inspiring. If you did, please consider subscribing to our channel. We release new videos every week on topics like personal growth, mental health, and living authentically. And don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and let me know how you're planning to break free from people-pleasing. Share your thoughts, your experiences, and your insights. And if you know someone who could benefit from this video, please share it with them. Let's spread the message of living authentically and finding true happiness. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.